Hello guys, my name's Theo Goff, host of the Conquering Dyslexia podcast, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I learned recently, really just learned about a few minutes ago and gone over, and it's new dyslexia training that's really opened my eyes up, and I want to share about it and give you the value like it's giving me. It's giving me a better understanding and confirm some suspicions I had on dyslexia. Guys, I hope you will enjoy this episode. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe, where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be? Or in other words, conquer their dyslexia. That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast. What's happening, guys? My name's Theo Goff. I hope we're doing good. And today I'm really excited to talk and have this conversation with you. Basically, what I've learned. What I learned just a few minutes ago. It's basically this training that I've been dying to watch over and over again. And I watched like half an hour of it about a few weeks ago. And it was so good, so information rich. And I watched it when I was eating my food. I didn't really get time to write it down or do a podcast about it. But anyway, finally I got myself to sit down, watch the thing, and take loads and loads and loads of notes. And she talks about it's basically for helping parents with dyslexia for their kids. But I didn't watch it because I want to help my kids. I don't have kids. I watched it because I want to help you lot and because I want to understand myself. And it was so packed full of information. And it basically just had this such a clear explanation to what dyslexia is. So who this person is who's doing this training was a person called Ellie Sever-Schwartz. She's a person who runs a podcast called the Dyslexia Quest. Now, that was the first ever dyslexia podcast I got into, and till this day, the best one I've ever seen, because she has some great, amazing guests on, talking about all different topics, not just dyslexia, but everything kind of related to it. And she's obviously learned so much in this journey of interviewing hundreds of people. And she's graduated in some sciences. I don't quite know, but she's back doing more education. Not doing the podcast as we speak, but yet still there's a plethora of knowledge there. So anyway, I heard she was doing this course of dyslexia because I also wanted to jump on board, do this. So I jumped on board a couple of months ago. She'd done the recording, but because I was travelling to Thailand and everything, I couldn't watch it live. So I was like, can you just send me the recording and I can see it then? It's like, yeah, sure, Theo. So she sent me the recording. I watched it. It blew my mind. And what was amazing about it is that the theories that I had in my head about what is dyslexia, and what I understand it from reading all the books, from understanding my own experience, and putting all this information together into a distinct way that makes sense. She confirmed it. She confirmed it in a way that's more scientific, very scientific and very factual based in nature. And so what she said basically at the start, and I want to say this as if I'm teaching this, but I just learnt this, so it's hard for me to teach it if it's not mine per se. But basically, one big challenge, especially for kids growing up, is that they are taught, and you know this as yourself, when you're growing up, you're taught that if you're not doing good in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, if you're not good at the start of education, then if you're not good at grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll be bad at, secondary school, like grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then you're bad at college, then university, and then eventually at a job. Because you're bad at the start, you'll be bad continually throughout. But what they fail to tell you is that the skill set that you need in these foundational years of learning is completely different than the skill set what you need when you're actually living, when you're actually working. Because in those years of when you're starting education, all it is basically about learning facts, that learning the foundational knowledge, like the bedrock of your knowledge, like foundational facts, the foundations of English, the foundations of maths. And a lot of these things can be hard for us to learn and to understand. Because, as he explains, is that dyslexics we learn through stories. We don't learn through having these random bits of information and then remembering them. Our memory works slightly differently. So we have to get rid of the notion that if we're not good at school, we'll not be good at real life, because that's absolutely rubbish. And we have to realize that and have to believe that in ourselves, because we can be really bad at school, but yet really good at life, because they do require a completely different skill set. So that's the first thing I have to really realize about getting rid of this belief. The second thing is when we actually look at the brains of dyslexic, the brains of what dyslexia is, and say, oh no, I have all these weaknesses. I can't read, I can't write, I can't spell, I have a stutter, I can't organise, I have all these problems. But one thing you have to learn about the brain is that the brain is an interconnective unit, which means everything's connected with everything else. And it also means this is what the brain scientists, I don't know fancy terminology, but the brain scientists say is that when there's a weakness, there always has to be a strength somewhere else, in some other ability, some other cognitive area. When there's a weakness in one area, there's a strength somewhere else. And this is something that I believed wholeheartedly after reading some books, listening to the Dyslexia Advantage and all the different strengths there. And it basically says when there's a weakness in one area, there's a strength in somewhere else. And so he confirmed this. Basically by saying if there's a weakness in one area, there'll be strength somewhere else. And it may turn up in some other area, in some other aspect of your life that may be a few years down the line. And the way we process things, is all about big picture. It's like we look at the forest, we don't look at the trees, is what she said. And it's like how we're trained, we're conditioned to see the whole forest, see everything as an interconnected story, see everything as complete whole, not look at every individual tree. So oftentimes what's really hard for us is for us to learn all these spelling rules, like the letter P and the sound P, and the sound P, when it's with a H, it makes it sound F, when it's connected with a word, on these letters, on these rules, combine. But at the start, we're not told why, we're not told the big story behind it. There's not a lot of reason behind we're learning. We just say, okay, this is what it is, and this is how we use it, and that's it, and move on, and you're expected to learn it. But dyslexics aren't like that. We want to learn the whole story behind it. We want to learn the big picture, the forest behind it, because I don't know if you can relate to me, but as dyslexic, I find it really easy to understand things as a whole. Really easy to take a step back and understand, okay, this is how the whole universe works. This is the basics of how the world works. But I find it really complex to understand the little details, like names, like facts, like dates. That's why it's very challenging for me. But for me to understand how systems work, the basics of it, taking a step back, that's very rewarding, very motivating, very simple for me to understand compared to when it's up to really close detail. That's kind of how dyslexics versus non-dyslexics brain works. And then when we talk about memory, sorry guys, this is very, very informational, but I want us to take things one step at a time. That's why I'm trying to slow down here. Because, okay, you're dyslexic, I want you to try and reflect everything I'm saying back upon yourself. This is what I was doing. I was writing down crazy about how it reflects to my life and how it's so true for my own life and my own dyslexia. So that's how it works. Okay, we're dyslexic, interconnective unit. There's no strengths, we have weaknesses. We have to get past this belief that just because we're bad at school does not mean we're bad at life. Okay, and that we have to understand things as a whole, not as an individual unit. Then it comes to our memory. Now, there's two types of memory. There's warehouse memory, and there's memory as in making a mixture, making a cake, like an ingredient memory. And now warehouse memory is what typically a neurotypical brain has. Is where warehouse memory is when you give the warehouse a piece of information to learn, they take the information and they store it. And they store it ready for retrieval when the information is required. The individual piece of information. But dyslexics, our brain is more like a piece of ingredient. When we put a piece of ingredient in, it doesn't stay the same. We put a piece of ingredient in, see how it combines, how it adapts, how it molds itself into all the other bits of information around you. So you can mold it into big stories or create something else, and you can change it and add it into different pieces of like stories, and combine things together and make sense of more things. That's kind of like how dyslexics take in our memory, or how we process information. Is we take a bit of information and see how it relates to every other thing we know. And if it doesn't relate, if it doesn't relate to anything else that we know, oftentimes we can't store it. It doesn't mold into our understanding of the world. So that's another thing that's really important, and how this can really help you is like, okay, if you're trying to remember a name. I remember one time I was out traveling, and this person was called Gita. I was with her for like 2 months. Still don't remember the name. And then I was like, okay, I want to really remember your name because it's really annoying me and annoying you. So I was like, okay, what's like a guitar? Oh, a guitar. So remember, every time I saw her, I wanted to call her name, I pointed at her and I said, guitar. Guitar. And everyone thought it was weird and they didn't quite get it. But I got it. It made so much sense to me. So that's taking a bit of information and connecting it with everything else I know. I know a guitar, and guitar. Short jump to go. And that's what we can do with ourselves when we're teaching dyslexics. Is how can we connect this one piece of information into the broader knowledge of like, okay, how can we use it? How does it relate to everything else? What's it like? And that's how we can use that piece of information. And now finally, after you understand that, we can go into understanding, okay, there's 2 different types of thinkers and how our brains work. This is very, very said in a quite simple way. I might not explain it in that way, but there's turkey skills and there's crow skills. So what turkey skills are, normally neurotypical people, they can read, they're writing, they're good with systems, they're good with doing things on autopilot, they're good with being reliable. And basically the reason why we call it turkey skills is when a turkey with a baby is sort of that knowledge. Sorry, there's a bit of noise outside, but that knowledge of a turkey is when it's had birth. When you make sounds of their hens with the ducks, the same baby sounds. The turkey will instinctively put his feathers, his arm around the thing, whatever making the noise, no matter what it is. He'll always put his arm around the thing that's making the baby turkey noise, because that's instinctual. It's a system that's automatic. But what crow skills are more like, crow skills are a lot more slower. But crow skills use the whole part of the brain. The crow skills take a lot more time and thinking. The crow skills are a lot more out of the box thinking. A lot more sort of like think about it from all different type of angles, from seeing things from all different perspectives. And what the crow skills are really good with is finding solutions they've never found before. Yes, they're very, very, very slow at doing certain cognitive tasks, but they're very good at coming up with new ideas, new inventions, new ways of doing things that other people haven't thought about. And that's their strengths. That's what they're good at. They need a lot of time to think and process things, and it is not reliable like a turkey skill, okay? So this is a lot of information, isn't it? But this is the way that our brains work as dyslexics. Let's start from the beginning. So we're dyslexic. We're born in an environment that people expect us to do something that we're not designed to do. And that makes us believe, like in schooling, that we won't be good at life and in general. And that's why we can lead us to, we're twice as more likely, study has shown, we're twice as more likely to experience depression, psychotic episodes, and a lot more mental health issues, people with learning disabilities, because I suspect we're expected to do something that we're not designed to do. We have to put meaning behind it, and we blame ourselves. Just one thing, we have to get across that barrier and understand our brains is an interconnected thing. When there's a weakness, there's also a strength. When there's a strength, there's also a weakness. Our job is to find out the weaknesses and find out the strengths that we have. The weaknesses are easy, the strengths are maybe not as easy, but go forward anyway. And how our brain works and memory works is we work in stories, we work in big picture, we work at connecting things all together. That's why we've got to learn in a way that makes sense to us. Not learning the way that everyone else learns, but learning the way that makes sense to us. How we can store things and retrieve things, and don't judge ourselves by what anyone else is doing. And then finally really realize that, hold on, we process things slower. We process things take a lot more time. We think things through. We take a lot more time thinking things through. But that means we make connections that other people don't make. That means we make inventions that other people don't do. That means we find new and unique ways of doing those things. And the hope I want us to get out of this, guys, is when we're going through a hard time, either in school or some other area in life, we just got to give it time to be in a place where we can thrive. Just be in time to be in a place where our brain is more suited to the environment by changing the environment. And by the way, guys, all this information I'm telling you now, you might say, oh, dyslexia is awful, dyslexia is rubbish, I can never do this, my environment will never change. Well, guess what can change? You. You can change. You're ultimately the creator of everything. And how you can end up doing anything you want is by simply saying this and having this hard and fast rule for your life. You will not let dyslexia stop you in your life. No matter what happens, no matter what obstacle comes in your way, you will not let it stop you. And how you do this is by seeing one thing that dyslexia stops you doing and going attacking it with everything you got, and make it one little hurdle. Don't make it a massive mountain. Make it one little thing, like one little spelling, one little, like, you can't write letters to other people, or you can't travel, or you find it hard to get organized. One little thing, and you master it, and you overcome it, and you don't let dyslexia stop you in this little arena, and you do it step by step by step by step, until you're living your life like a dream of, because not only have you overcome the challenges that dyslexia gives you, but also you become so mentally strong, so mentally resilient in the struggles that you faced, so now you can do way much more than you could ever dream of. You can do way much more than loads of other people who even haven't got dyslexia. And that's my gift for you guys. I hope you had a good one, and see you all again soon. Bye, guys. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Now, I got something really exciting I want to share with you. Over the last 5 years, I've been absolutely obsessed with learning everything I can about dyslexia and how they can overcome their challenges and maximize their strengths. And I've been spending many hours on many days scouring the internet to find solutions to the problems. And I found many solutions. So over quarantine, I was thinking, what if I scour the internet again? What if I go through every last resource that I've been through before and take everything that's useful and put it into one place? And that's how I filled up a lot of my time in quarantine. I scoured the internet and found all the most inspirational, all the most informational, all the most useful videos about dyslexia out there, and put them all into one place, so you don't have to waste time scouring the internet to find solutions to your problems. So you know there's only one place to go. And this thing I created is called the Dyslexia Black Book. You can get it at conqueringdyslexia.net/Black Book. Now, I'm wanting to offer this to you and present this to you completely for free, because I want to save you time. I want to save you time, so scouring the internet and not finding the answers like I've done. If you go to conqueringdyslexia.net/Black Book, Conquering Dyslexia Black Book, you'll find it. Or guys, you can just click the link in this episode description to find it. But yeah, guys, that's the special message I wanted to share with you today.